Hey, people, Indra here, 1v1, Greykeep Gardens. Yes, the wyvern is growling at me. Over on the green side, we have Nakamura with the Dark Elves. And the blue side is Khadit with the Orcs. Both of these factions very heavy on their wood early on. You see the Orcs grabbing 4 or 5 lumber mills. Looks like they've gone for 4, and they've gone triple hunting cabins, which could suggest a heavy warg opening, but it could also suggest just a bunch of goblins and maybe a little bit slower expansion. 2 stone gutters. This is a mistake. You can't work all this. You don't have enough workers for all this. Let's have a look at Nakamura. Probably 3 wood. Yep, 3 wood and 1 hunting cabin. And they've gone for the Reaper. So Dark Elves have this resource called Echoes, which they get from fallen enemies. And this guy can actually manipulate them himself. Can use them to summon undead and stuff. If I can bring up the correct thing. Here we go. Yep, they've got the reanimate souls, so they can store 3 echo at a time on this guy, and then he can use that echo to reanimate souls, as you see there. Once this guy dies, we'll see some echo drop.
Our heroes grow stronger.
If you see it, there it is, that blue little wisp there, and he's just collected it. They also use it for their advanced military units and their unit upgrades and stuff, so it's an important thing for Dark Elves. You can see he's summoned a bunch of undead. He can have a maximum of 5, and he can just use those to harass, I suppose. They're quite quick, aren't they? 29, 600, so they're actually better than his Tarantula that he starts with, which is 25 magic damage and 525 hit points. Yeah, looks like he's sending them off to kill some workers. Kill some orky workers. Meanwhile, yeah, they can't work this stone. I don't know why they built it. Maybe something I don't know about. They've got a lumber mill up. Probably 1 lumber, 1 hunt there. This one's already been upgraded as well. And we have the Occultist for Khadit. This guy is a melee powerhouse that sacrifices health to use his abilities. Can be incredibly powerful for dealing with clumps of infantry with his Demonic Pact, which I assume they went for. I think most of them do. Yeah, there's Demonic Pact. They've also gone for some damage boost and cooldown reduction.
Our borders have expanded.
Demonic Pact makes him incredibly powerful. Gives him AoE damage and 200% damage boost, as you see there.
Are under attack.
But if he's not inside the area, takes a bunch of damage per second, so you can try to manipulate his positioning. Meanwhile, the Reaper killing some bandits here. It's very low. Also has the soul, I think it's called the soul arrow they've gone for here. Void arrow, there it is. It's damage, a damage spike and enfeeble. The Reaper could actually be very powerful against orcs. He's got a lot of debuffs, and if you're debuffing goblins, you see the undead are killing some workers here, and Occultist is trying to deal with it. If you debuff goblins that were already quite weak, it'd be really hard to stand up to fights. If I'm free spectating, it doesn't let me see behind the trees. Here we go, we can see some stuff a bit better. A little bit better. They killed at least 3 or 4 workers here. I'll have to wait for them to come back out of the main structure. Another worker goes down. That was a lumber worker too. Orcs do transition quite hard into stone in tier 2 to get things done. You need to be ready for that, which is why you often see the stone cutter up early. They need it to upgrade their various central structures. One of the advantages of orcs is that they can produce units from each of these when they're upgraded, from a flag that is, like this place. You can get them out of all of them. And if you're high enough tier on these, you're going to get all of your units out of them, even your big war trolls and stuff. This guy's so fast, this Spectre. Can't attack. It's got this affliction, which I think it gives you vision on anything that it hits, but I don't think it does damage. And its undead's doing really well. And maybe they need to... It's like less food that needs to be spent on tarantulas early, I guess. There's the starting Warg Rider, and we do have some goblins now. These guys come out 2 at a time, which is why they only have 500 hit points and 25 damage and 0 strike resistance, so they can be cut down quite effectively by the other starting units of some of the other factions. Well, not the starting units, the basic soldier type. They'll do well against tarantulas though. Tarantulas also come at 2 at a time. But I don't think tarantulas have strike resistance either. Can I find any? Here's some. Oh, look, they have a strike weakness, actually. They do magic damage, though. Are goblins weak to magic? They might be. A lot of troops are. So it might be quite an even fight, actually. Occultist is level 2. And the Reaper also level 2. Having a little look there. Tarantulas might go down before they get out of this sector here. Gonna be close. They'll be okay. Wasn't that close, actually. Here's the Demonic Pact. So as long as the Occultist is in this area, they won't take damage and they get those massive buffs. Just chop through that guy and leveled up to 3. Can be super powerful. Wild Rider with that ranged attack. One of the better starting units, I think, because of that ranged attack. And it's also super quick, as you may expect. What is this? Some undead fighting the undead alongside the Reaper there. What have they got now going on? Still level 2. They should level off this, though, I would think. You see these echoes. There's the level. These are actually called unclaimed echoes. You'll see in tier 2 the elves can, they might actually be tier 2, they can build a Spire of Souls, I think it's called, which allows them to gather unclaimed echoes and turn them into echoes they can use for their units and stuff. Use a special harvester unit to do that. There's a bunch of them around here now. And we got some infiltrators. 60 damage, strike weakness and magic weakness. But they're relatively cheap, these guys. I think they're 6 food, 2 wood. So not far off the cost of some scoundrels, some goblin scoundrels. Goblin pesterers, the ranged unit, use stone. Which is why they take a little bit longer to get online, the pesterers, because you're using your stone to upgrade outposts and stuff, typically. Now if I go to, say, Khadit, I can do this. Yeah, and see their full composition here. 14 scoundrels, the cultist, and the Wild Rider is still up. What about Nakamura? We have 6 infiltrators, 4 undead, 2 tarantulas. Pretty even armies. They need to really get on this Reaper though, because he can debuff the hell out of those goblins. In fact, they have corruption already, so they can mess up the resistances, as you can see in an area. There's bad news, especially if the Occultist is trying to stay in one place to use the Demonic Pact. They're going for the Wyvern. They can use the undead to tank here. And they have 3 echoes stored, so they can pop 3 more undead up. You can increase this to have 5 echoes stored at a time, which is nice. They should get this, and they should level off it. Oh, they got a hit on the infiltrators. He was trying to avoid that by getting all the damage on the undead. Couldn't quite manage it, but they survived. They got it, and there's the level. So what do we got now on this guy? Level 5. So we might see some of the, the bottom, the top tier abilities coming. Kiss of North. 250 damage around something that you kill instantly, so you can use it on your tarantulas or your undead, ideally. And Blood Shower, which is bleeding and also messes up buildings a lot. As you see there, damage and their production speed goes down. We've also got Lingering Curse, another debuff. So this, you target a single enemy with this, but then it curses the surrounding enemies too, I believe, for a long time, 30 seconds. It might be, yes, 10 meter area of effect. This one is 14 meters. So get both of those down. It's going to cost a lot of energy, but that's a massive amount of debuffing going on. Bad news for little goblin fellas, I think. Looks like they're on the offensive. Fortified outpost here. Another upside of Dark Elves is that they can, I believe they can get their border fortress, which is the top level sector building, in tier 2. They don't need to be tier 3 for it. Teleporting away. I guess they met more resistance than they wanted there. I wish I could quickly find the unit upgrade buildings if they were up. I don't know of a way to do that. A lot of the Dark Elf unit upgrades cost Echo. Now, I don't think I've seen a Spire of Souls up yet. They must be in tier 2 though. They require some iron for their tier 2 units, which is often the case. Hopefully we see some of those sleepers, because those guys look awesome. But they can do well with their infiltrator spam early. Repairs are in here. Where is Khadit? Oh, they're bashing this frontier outpost. There's the demonic pact again. And a whole bunch of scoundrels. You can get an upgrade for these guys. It only costs 25 food to have them come out 3 at a time, which, as you may imagine, increases their efficiency per resource quite a bit. Putting up their flag, bashing the rest of the buildings, which won't function if the orc flags aren't there, obviously. In fact, you need to upgrade it to get any workers. They're going to have both of the central sectors that have iron in them. That's quite a big deal for Nakamura. Nakamura, by the way, is a caster of this game on Twitch and YouTube. I'll try to remember to put links in the description, but if not, I should remember, but if not, you can just search Nakamura RTS and you'll find him. There's that big debuff, look at that. Poor little goblin fellas, they need to get out of here. Oh, there's that explosion as well. What is it called again? I want to know what it's called. It's called Kiss of Naught. Still only has the Demonic Pact, I think, the Occultist. He's gone a very passive heavy build here. Let's see if we can figure out. They've got the health, they've got the damage. Tons of abilities for Nakamura to juggle here. They might need to buy a whole bunch of focus potions. You see all of this echo now. Can they get the Occultist? I think they can. Must have popped a health potion, but they're going to go down here. Yep. Levels the hero. I don't see a harvester anywhere. They must have one by now. We're at 11 minutes. I don't know where it is. You know what? Maybe they don't. Maybe don't. No, there's Spiral Souls right there. And there is the harvester. So he'll passively collect nearby unclaimed echoes. But you can use an ability on that guy to get them all at once, which is handy. Although you don't get them in your stockpile all at once. They still need to be processed by the spires. You can speed that up by having multiple spires and kind of processing them in parallel. Yep, we're going to have both of the central sectors, which is a very strong position. Orcs generally need map to compete, and they're not getting it here. We have hunters, though, maybe coming out a little bit late, but they're here, and these guys are powerful. 140 damage per attack, 1000 hit points is pretty good considering their damage output, and they have the 25 strike resistance. You can maybe counter them with massive ranged fire yourself, since they don't have any pierce resistance. We'll see how they do. The Orc tier 2 melee unit, the Brute, very powerful too. 1700 hit points on those guys, I think, and they have some good resistances. 90 damage, I think, on the Brute. But they're both 4 iron, which is they're not cheap to churn out. You do need that big screen of goblins. That debuff go down again there. Trying to clean up a bit. Khadit needs to try and delay, needs to try and get back on this, I think. But can they do it? I don't think they can. Because he'll just warp over, debuff all the goblins. Oh, we got some sleepers here, and then infiltrated them down. But we got some sleepers, these guys. One of my favourite looking units in the game. Got these swords kind of floating around them. And when they get into melee range, they can kind of thrust it into your neck. 100 damage. Some pierce resistance. 1250 hit points. How much do they cost again? Where can I find the Halls of Pain? Right here. I think they're 4.
Building completed.
Yes, 5-4. Infiltrate is just 6-2. Decent cost efficiency in their tier 2, I think, the Dark Elves. We'll see Nakamura go down the edges here, get some more XP. Being attacked, though, they might need to walk back. Can they clean this up quite quickly? I think they can. Yep. Infiltrator's doing a good job. These tarantulas came a strange way, but they got here. Are these actually tarantulas? I mean, I'm not a spider expert, but that's not what tarantulas look like in my head. Guess I needed to call them something cool. And there's the blood shower thing. Demonic Pact over there too. But as you can see, when the Occultist is not in that, it takes big chunks of damage. Big chunks of damage. If he can get in amongst a group of infiltrators and use that Demonic Pact, he would cleave through them so fast. But he seems to be content to fight frontliners here. They really need to try and spike down the Reaper, but it's hard. They don't have like tons of casterers. They do have the hunters, Hunters are trading okay. Trading pretty well with the infiltrators here. Oh, they didn't kill this one. Look at this guy. On 4 hit points. That was a bad fight. Quite a bad fight there for Khadit. Just couldn't get on that Reaper, and I think the Occultist went down, didn't he? Pretty sure they did. Oh, they took out the Harvester. It will automatically respawn on the Spire of Souls if you do that. I mean, they still have 4 Hunters here. 5 now. Is that a Hunter? Yeah. And here comes a bunch of Goblins. Using the Godstone as a travel point if you're wondering how they got there without the Occultist. Going straight back in there. This is a risky push from Khadit, I think. Did they ever get this? No, they didn't. The Wyvern's still there. Big advantage though here for Nakamura. They have the map, and if you don't have at least half the map as Orcs, consider yourself quite far behind, I think. Really need to pump out those buildings because they only work them 2 each. Watchtower over here, which will shoot stuff. They have to spend so much wood building up their economy to get the buildings out. Got a couple of farms because they hunted all the game. They must have the Bloodforge because that looks like scoundrels coming out 3 at a time to me. Okay, here's the Bloodforge. We can see if they have it. Yes, they do. It would be here. So they are getting 3 at a time scoundrels out. They can also get these upgrades multiple times for more Orc power. Wild Rider. That's a good upgrade for Wild Riders. 15 iron is a lot though. Looks like the Occultist has a new armor that they've gone and bought. This is a risky push. There's a Basilisk for Nakamura. Now they look big, scary, impressive, and they do have massively powerful attacks, but they're actually quite squishy. Only 1500 hit points and they don't have any resistances. Look how quickly they can go down here. Yeah, Basilisks are much squishier than they look. As is the case with most of the Dark Elf roster. They're kind of a glass cannon. Occultist got very low. These debuffs from the Reaper are doing so much work. Those sleepers are freaking awesome too. Look at that. They've got the Occultist. That could be GG. I don't know how they recover from this. They did some damage, but look at the amount of echoes they must be getting from this. Look at it. They need to pop it with their Harvester here, using the Burst Harvest. Looks like they're going to do it now. Maybe. There it is. And they will all go back to the Spire, where they are unclaimed echoes and they get processed into echoes you can actually use. And they do have some things queued up here. There's another Basilisk. I think these are 15 each, I think. I believe so. I'm not sure where the building is for them. It's not in here. Lots of halls. There it is, Dark Temple. Yeah, 15 each. They've got some really cool units. Big fan of the Emissary of Norse that summon undead constantly, but they're tier 3, so I'm not sure if we'll get to see them. Seems like this game in general, SpellForce 3, is often decided on that tier 2 transitions, because it's really tricky to get right. You need to have enough of an army to support you through the transition. You need enough resources to start getting stuff going in a transition, which is typically to get iron. I mean, they do have some iron coming in here, but only from one sector, I believe. There is a map I can look at, isn't there? Yeah. Put the resources on. Yeah, look, 2 iron in the mid. They're all Nakamura's. Here comes a Basilisk. The Basilisk, you can actually upgrade these guys so that when they fire their shot, they leave bodies behind, which the emissaries can then summon as undead, which is really cool. Hey, we have a War Drummer. That guy empowers goblins. Gives them this empowered buff whenever he bangs his drum if he's near enough. If I can... There it is. Also gives them a little bit of health regen, though it doesn't show up as a boon. I believe it's... Seems to be, from what I can tell, it's like 5 health every few seconds, and it doesn't stack. Multiple War Drummers does not stack in their effect, but it's nice to have multiple, as you see here, because they can get killed quite fast. They only have 500 hit points. And they tend to get really close to the action to bang their drums, which is quite annoying. Basilisks here. Look at that. That's such bad news for clumps of goblins, especially when they're all debuffed. Look at that. Going for the border fortress here. Should they be fighting instead? I feel that they should be fighting this instead. They could have done really well. Get the Occultist in amongst these sleepers with the Demonic Pact and they would kick some ass. But they're going for the border fortress really hard. As I mentioned before, the Dark Elves can get border fortresses in tier 2. And I don't think this is going to work out great for Khadit. Can they get it? They're so close. Repairs are going in fast. Their Cultist goes down. I think that's it. I don't think they can finish it off. Yeah, that was it. Oh, that was the game, in fact. They concede from Khadit. That was their last throw of the dice. I feel like if they fought that battle instead of going straight for the border fortress, maybe they could have done enough damage to have a lasting impact. Maybe. But there's so much stuff here. Look at this. Look at these sleepers. They're so badass. Got some undead in there too. Those basilisks. Solid game from Nakamura. I was very confused about that extra stonecutter we saw here. That couldn't be worked. Very confused. But there you have it. Check out Nakamura's channels. I'll link them in the description. Thank you for watching, guys. And I'll see you next time.